That was
We keep him busy
yes.
for his own good. He wants to stay, really fresh.
Yep, it's always good. Did you send your bottle of whiskey to him or not yet?
I saw him. He came into the studio tonight because he was working on something. He wanted to scan that image. So.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, Chrissy, if you saw the sketch in the morning, he did an exploratory two-wheeler Mars exploration kind of an buggy as such, and we are going to send it a copy of it to all the participants just as a meeting of thanks. So,
I love that.
yeah. Okay, guys, 1 minute to go. Tell us when to stop bantering. It is so quiet.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Leslie Ann Pilling, and I am the host this evening. I'm also founder and president of Metropolitan Museum of Design Detroit. We're actually broadcasting from our location in Detroit. We are actually nicknamed MOD. Our location in Collective Detroit is a premier art gallery, and we are just sort of near where Castech is. To view our current exhibit, which is called Source Formation, you just go on our website, which is www.mm-o-dd.org, and you can click and reserve times to come in and join for our exhibit called Source Formation, which is looking at the fashion design world, the whole full supply chain, including CCS graduates. The mission that we have is to educate or edutain, enrichment, and explorational opportunities to further the knowledge of the design industry. One of our main taglines is design choices impact people and planet. This evening, Design Core Network is broadcasting from MOD, like I said. The program is inside the Detroit Design Network and stories of collaboration. I'd like to introduce to you, as moderator and fellow Detroit Core Network member, Isabel Weiss. Isabel is an accredited appraiser of fine art and design and the founder of Next Space, a leading gallery presenting bespoke design objects from independent designers in Detroit. Isabel, take it away.
Thanks, Leslie. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to share these stories of collaboration with you. Although I can't take credit for the stories, we have three groups of presenters, and we are really going to be sharing three different approaches to collaboration. Everything from industry colleagues to a husband and wife team, looking at product, looking at spaces, and it's really a great lineup. I don't think you really need to hear anything else from me. So on that note, I'm going to introduce our first pair of presenters. So Jeevak Badve and David Tim from Sundberg Farrar are colleagues in at the firm Sundberg Farrar, obviously. Jeevak is the Director of Strategic Growth, and he brings energy and passion to his role there. For 23 years, he's been helping companies leverage the fundamental role of industrial design thinking, and I'm sure he has a very distinct blend of looking at usefulness, usability, ergonomics, and aesthetics in making products unique and compelling. He earned his executive MBA from Michigan State University and holds a master's in industrial design from ITT Bombay and a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Pune University. I recently learned that he loves obstacle course running and bird photography and kickboxing. His collaborator this evening is David Tim. He is an experienced designer. He has over 28 years in product development, working in corporate as well as consulting roles. He has a lifelong fascination of human behavior and how it affects the relationship with products and places in which we live. So I'm sure that makes him a very good collaborator. And he believes in a very hands-on approach in getting dirty. He joined Sundberg Farrar in 1995 as a senior designer, and he's worked on a diverse set of projects, which I'm sure will be exemplified in this presentation this evening. And he is very accomplished, and I'm going to have to shorten his bio a bit. But he became a principal at Sundberg Farrar in 2009, and continues to work on projects large and small, which we will see in this evening's presentation. So without further ado, Vivek, David, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you again. Thank you again for having both of us and Sundberg Farrar for this wonderful evening as such. I know we have a time docket of 15 minutes, so we will try to cover specific elements during this time. As we start, I think we will introduce just a little bit about the studio, and then we will jump on the theme of the, let's say, the evening, the collaboration part, and then we'll try to show some real world examples that are happening right in the studio back over there, so we can talk and discuss about that. And at the end, we will love to see the questions and try to answer them to the best of our ability. So I will start, and then myself and David will go back and forth in that. So again, we are just proud to be born in Detroit. Not me, obviously. I was born back in India. I came only here 19 years ago, but the studio is one of the pioneers of industrial design in the entire nation, and I would say North America also. And since then, we have been doing objects of everyday use, B2C, B2B, and range of different things. From there till today, we still precisely do the same things. The culture, the context, the ecosystem around the objects change, but we still, as human species, are highly reliable on the objects and the way we have to think about the human centricity behind that. And that's what makes the design more and more interesting. B2C, right now, what you would be seeing is more B2B. But before we go further, it's a team over here. Right now, only me and David are representing, but we are a team of around 20 people, all here based in Detroit, no other branch anywhere in the world. And together, we may just make design happen. It's a design consultancy. We work for startups. We work for middle-sized companies. We work for big entrepreneurship, big enterprise companies also. But one thing that people always mistake industrial design studio is they think we are a bunch of kids with markers and crayons in our hand, and we just do things beautiful. So that is entirely true. Whatever comes out of the studio is always beautiful. It might be a hairdryer, or it might be the future of mobility. That's again a Josiah sketch, Michael. But we all start in the world of identifying the right problems and then solving it beautifully. So literally a design studio, any good design studio anywhere in the world, will always start in the world of usefulness, the use cases, the usability, the efficacy of use, the efficiency of use, the ergonomics, and then eventually into the world of beauty. Means beauty will always be there. It will be packaged in that, but understanding how it evolves in the entire ecosystem is the main element that we just have to be doing. So that's basically about the design studio as such. About the context of collaboration, right? It is such an important thing, important word as such to go forward with. Then we have to start beginning to understand what are the best ways to collaborate, how to make sure the ideas transfer from my mind out on the table, and then let's say in your mind or through a whiteboard or any other faction. So as a design studio, we typically literally immerse ourselves in the world of 2D ideation, eventually sharing that with the studio and making sure we are collaborating with other disciplines, collaborating with the vendors, with the super users as such. But one of the predominant tool we use for collaboration is literally making sure to have some physicality of the product right in the discussion, not just discussing in the air, not just with a sketch also, but actually using a 3D sketch, a typical scenario in our thing. So one of the things we will talk today about is the collaboration thing, is how we use the Get Physical Fast tool, the mockups, the prototypes, the prototypes, the board, bread model mockups as such to help get your idea from your mind outside so people can start collaborating, right? It doesn't necessarily start with a sketch. If it starts, eventually on the upper right, you would see there would be a low fidelity, low precious model, low precious material model to be done to make sure people can react to it, respond to it, rather than anything else. Somehow my presentation is going on auto slide, but that's okay. It's just happening on the way. So we will be spending today's time on understanding how to use that tool, to really collaborate the idea and not have to lose plenty of things in translation. So there is a range of different elements that you can use apart from other tools. But today we'll talk about collaboration and how we can use it different junctures as such, because case in point, we need that for a range of different things. Like over here, a forklift, right? You and me all here right now can drive a forklift. Maybe for 10 minutes, maybe for 15 minutes. But are we the super users? Are we using it 10, 12 hours a day for 6 days a week? Absolutely not. So as design studios, we can bring in the best practices, the ergonomical reach zones, the grab elements as such, the visibility angles, but trying to make sure you extract things. When you say participatory design, you have to go and make sure you extract those things from the real end users. And for that, just asking a question or filling a questionnaire is never enough. Sometimes you have to create that stimuli in the warehouse or the elements where the forklifts are used. Go there and make these models. It is not design. It is still a 3D sketch. It is there to extract things of how people will react to it. And then we make sure that we understand those elements. And then as designers, we go back behind the, let's say, drawing board and try to integrate those design research elements on the super users over in the model. So that's a predominant way as a studio, between the studio, from the studio to the external, I would say, constituencies, and those clients to their own constituencies. They were going physical fast is one of the surest way, I would say, to go forward as such. So let me make myself pause here a minute, and I will let David talk about the different ways we use design for either design research or the final part of design showcase. But right now, let's try to talk about design as a part of an active innovation sprint. David, you want to add your thoughts about the way you use prototyping methods?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's such a valuable tool. So I'm a CCS graduated in 91, and it was such an important part of the curriculum because instead of just trying to print things like many the processes now, you actually had to go out and build it. So you learn a lot, you know, just physically how things go together, what's strong, what's not. But it's also from a mechanical standpoint, anything that has motion or someone's going to pick it up and they're going to touch it with their hands. It's super critical because you think they might grab it one way and then you see they use it and hold it another. But an example where you got mechanical motion where you're trying to achieve a goal of trying to deploy a sawhorse the fastest way possible. So you got motion, how do you pick it up? What happens when the legs come out? The first mock-up that you make and the leg hits you in the knee, okay, that's a valuable lesson. So now you have to change that, right? So now it needs to drop down and swing away from you. So we use this as a tool for ourselves personally as we're trying to work out thoughts, but majorly as a collaboration tool, because now with our client, we can demonstrate why maybe a direction that they thought was totally appropriate and they were excited about, why it didn't work. So you can take them through the process this way very quickly and learn a lot and move forward. And now you have a foundational start for a mechanism where now you can get into that CAD and get more detail, but you can really get everyone to agree and move forward on a concept, developing it physically like this first.
And one of the main elements I think to add over there is first of all why people seek us out, right? As a design studio, one of the reasons they come out to us, apart from plenty of others, is the rapid response, the agility, and accelerating the product design process pretty fast. And over the range of 87 years, we have found out, I mean, still in this world of virtuality and augmented reality, we have virtual tools, we engage into a lot of digital tools, but there is still no other, I would say, option than to go into the real world. If the product is going to be a 3D tactile physical product out in the world, then there is no reason why not to invest a little bit time and little bit materials to make sure there is a form and function for that. As David was saying, the mechanism design, the fit, the function, the heft, the weight of it, the distribution of the weight of it, all those things, I would not say they're impossible to do in the digital world, but it takes a long time to arrive to that versus just going back in the shop, and we have a shop and a studio right under the same roof, actively doing something, mocking it up, coming back and explaining and throwing that in front of the team, and then in front of the customer and the super users. So as I said, there is various different ways to see how we can make use of those hands-on elements too. And the fidelity of it is where is the main, I would say, riveting factor, because sometimes in the start of the process, you have to be high on concept and low on fidelity by intention, by design. Eventually, as you go from idea to concept, concept to prototype, prototype to production, then you can go and change the graphs going the other way, where it's high on fidelity and low on concept. But as soon as we start doing something, a designer or designers or researchers, we come and do some sketches and renderings. At the same time, it might be a very literally simple foam core model, but getting it in the world of 3D, literally seeing it there, how much volume is going to occupy, how is going to be maintained and serviced, all those different aspects start coagulating and coalescing together as such. So the fidelity should not matter. Actually, the way the sketch is done in the 2D world, in the same way we try to replicate that in the world of 3D in making those kind of sketches. And we are talking about, I know as a studio, we always use a physical example to go forward with, but we also are adept, and we do a lots in the world of graphical user interface, service design also. In the similar thing, the mockups that you have to use in the usability research. By the way, you cannot distance away a graphic user interface from the physical product. If it is a physical product and the interaction is going to be there, it's nice to merge them together. Means the same thing happens for the usability principles, right? Means this is one of the prototyping shots from a gas station machine, right? It's still a B2B product. You and me are not going to buy it, but they're going to use it today and literally for at least 100 more years. How do you do that in reality? The angle to be seen, where they will be at a proper height, what will be the other elements over there, and then testing out how the graphic user interface will work, right? Not only just the design of the screens, design of the buttons, and the beautification part of it, but also the logic and the navigation and narration of how you are guided into the interface along with the architecture of the product. Because a successful product is a molecule of four things: the hardware, the graphic user interface on it, the digital twinning of it, how you extract the data back to your place, and the service part of it. So always they have to be seen together. And the more you experiment, the more you storytell, the more better and valuable it is.
Yeah, it's really that blend of the physical and the digital on that one as well. It's like some things you can do better digitally than you can physically. And it's having that right blend, again, just to create a really good user experience and interaction.
Yeah, and in a similar way, David, you want to talk a little bit about the validation part of it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's in, if it's a small handheld medical device, or it's a full-scale automotive interior, which we're kind of reviewing an automotive interior here, which so much needs to be done from a mechanical and a packaging standpoint. And you're trying to work with surfaces and understand light and reflections and usability and reach zones. So this is where, in order to, before you put hundreds of thousands of dollars in tooling, a validation tool to gather the team around and just see things come to life. I think the critique level, the information gained is something that anyone would do, and highly recommend it. But seeing those 2D sketches and then the CAD come to life, something you can physically touch and move around and understand, again, all the physical attributes of the interaction points with it, extremely valuable. Shapes and blends and surfaces are all fine-tuned in this process. And this is something that, depending on the investment in it, you may do a couple of times. We do prove out models sometimes just to kind of work out a mechanism, something very simple. But other times it's very detailed, and also looking at engineering interfaces here. So now this is a collaboration tool where it's not only the design team reviewing surface and styling lines and ergonomics and human factors, it's also from the engineering development side, in marketing and everything, just making sure that you're meeting the brand intent. So it's a great tool for everyone to get around and start to agree that everyone's heading in the right direction. I think it gives everyone a lot of confidence, is another important word, because I think sometimes when you see a sketch or see something in 2D, until you see it in real life, you're not sure how good it is. And sometimes you're really surprised and proud of how nice something looks with all that effort that's gone into it.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. And where this gets placed in the entire design chain is a little bit later in the process, where you started in the work of low fidelity models, then you jump over into the world of digital modeling, you create data surfaces over there, you print them, and then you mix together the reality and I would say the virtuality in elements like this. And design is a largely iterative process, and that's what David was coming to. And you have to start making sure now you can see the fidelity of the pro model is increasing. So it is literally now converging together to the final pre-production or the production level as such. There will be other elements of modeling too. Means as a studio, we handle mechanism part of it, we handle the looks and the aesthetical part of it, but we also have to handle more and more the electronical parts of it also. So even the breadboard level modeling, it's also a different form of benchtop models, and both can have parallel process too. You can start your architectural packaging from one side, and the other parallel side, you can still try to do your demonstration, technological prove outs in the parallel process. Sometimes we do it, sometimes the actual inventor or the startup community, they actually do it, and we try to make sure we create the proper enclosures for it to finally go and sit in the commercial stage. But when we say collaboration, it happens in the physical world, the form world, and also in the technological world as such. We only have two more to go, and then luckily we will be, not luckily, we will have to end it in 15 minutes as such. Another main thing is about the design research part too, right? Means right now what we saw was more on the design execution, the inspiration, the innovation sprints as such. When we talk about design research, is how you use those models to go out to the actual elements, maybe internal design research, and how it's going to be actually acting in the real world. If it's a hair dryer, what is the real ecosystem for it? Who will be using it? Obviously not a person with such a less hair, but maybe more hair. And then how you understand what is still missing in the entire equation. So there is a rhyme and reason for what you do in the world of physicality and how you grasp it out and use it in different fields, right? How can you use it in the world of innovation strategy, then design research? That's what image would be. Then it will go into the world of ideation and then validation and then prove out models as such. And then eventually, I think it will go to the show properties, conceptual properties. It's still conceptual, but you're now showing it to the public. If you go to the earlier ones, it is still behind the firewall, you're curating it with a focus group clinic. But as it goes to the end shows, then the fidelity really goes really high. And maybe, David, you want to spend a couple of minutes on this, about the fidelity level and how the public impression is dependent on the model making also.
Oh, don't you think I should have spoken about the hair dryer? I think it would have been more appropriate. More hair. Yeah, so this is, when you get to the point of a project where you want to make that public announcement, you are launching a new vehicle, your new version of your iPhone. There isn't a detail that that isn't missed, and there's a lot of thought that goes into a presentation like that. The showpiece ends up being that product itself. We do this a lot. Sometimes when we did it more, I think in the past, we blend a good amount of virtual with the physical now, because I think you can tell a better story. But the physical presence of building a high fidelity model like this, extremely valuable, because I think it's what people are going to gather around. It's hard to gather around 360 degrees around a flat 2D screen. This, you can do it. You can kind of walk around it, the light changes, and it's all real. And it just makes it really, bring that conceptual design to life, communicate the benefits. You back that up with some great animations and other 2D visuals and messaging. And I mean, you got a winning presentation there. You can really attract and lead an audience and communicate the value of whatever particular project it is.
Yep, and that leads to the final elements of how the full functioning prototypes are used, sometimes directly as a beta field also, right? Once you go with the entire elements as such, you can still go and extend to the pre-production or the production level model making, which can actually be used to test actually in the field, the abuse, the misuse that happens in the first generation of products, how we can still design products to be apt and rugged and robust to do that and still get data on the back. So that's, I would say, the full gamut of how you can use physicality as a real part of collaboration as such. And you will see in the closing remarks as such, like anybody in the studio. So we are designers, researchers, strategists, business people. We all are not only encouraged, but we insist people to make sure they get their hands dirty. You fold back your sleeves and just get doing it. And that's how you jumpstart the entire process. And at the end, you literally have everybody smiling. I really don't know, David, what's happening over there? What makes you smile? Or I think we are almost on the time limit. Do you want to close out our thoughts on what we do in collaboration?
Yeah, we were laughing there because we were watching you present something on the web. There's a lot of different video out there of you, so it was just a highlighted one. But yeah, no, it's just a valuable tool. And it's something we try and use at the appropriate time. So sometimes right in the beginning of a project, sometimes right in the end, or smack in the middle. But every project has a little bit different flavor, and it's a great collaboration tool, whether you're trying to understand the size of it, ergonomics, or just a visual surface evaluation. So great collaboration tool.
Thank you again, David. Thank you again, Isabel, and the team for having us there. If you need information, I will add the link in the chat and people can reach out if they want to.
Please do. Thank you so much, both of you. That was fascinating. I certainly learned a lot. Next, we have Paul Cross from Ware Manufacturing. He is a Detroit-based designer, one that I have worked with actually through my own work with NextSpace. And he founded Ware MFG as a design build practice in 2013. He focuses on unique residential, retail, and rehabilitation projects across the Metro Detroit area. And you probably are familiar with some of his projects. He's worked on the Bon space in Midtown, as well as the Scumato space in Midtown, and the Detroit Denim space. He serves clients through architectural visualization, artisan contracting, and custom millwork. He partners with a lot of different local vendors in this way, and I know he has a great presentation outlining a variety of collaborative projects that he's done with them. So with that, Paul, please take it away.
Hey guys. Yeah, so as Isabel mentioned, I do, a wide variety of work in the residential and commercial area, and I work with a lot of people. It takes a lot of hands to do these kinds of high uniqueness sort of things. So I'm just gonna click on screen share real quick.
Yeah, you want to screen share? I mean, yeah. I'm happy to be the face of your presentation.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that would work too, but. Yeah. Second. Okay.
Here we go.
So yeah, I decided to just talk a little bit about collaboration and design build. Design build is like the way I would describe like the sector of business that I'm in. So what it is design build is connecting, either the client's vision or the designer's vision to the building. And ideally that's, or building of whatever it may be. Maybe it's a space, maybe it's a thing or a piece of furniture. But that connection is really important. And to house that within, the same group of people or the same person or the same company really brings some unique results and some really cool things come out of it. So as Isabel mentioned, I founded Ware Manufacturing in 2013. I think at that time, I did not foresee myself in retail design build or commercial design build. I came from a background of just sculpture and furniture on my own. And, over the years, I started to get more integrated with the Detroit small business community and found some gaps in, there was a small business owner who was rented a space, and, they didn't know how to connect the dots between, like, how do I move into it, figure out where to put things, figure out what it looks like. And I've been, over the years, wedging myself into this position where either I have a client that is a small business owner and they are looking to, design and build a space, to someone who has, a weird extension onto their home that they're not exactly sure how to deal with. So I'll visualize, I will organize trades behind, what I design, and I will work with them to come up with really unique things. So here are some examples of more of the build side of what I'm up to, where sometimes I'm building furniture. It's like maybe it's something that I'm building personally, but I'll contract out to a couple other people to do some trades that I'm not very versed in. But there's other times where I'm acting kind of like a general contractor, where I will have a carpentry team, a metalworking team, and either a masonry team to accomplish all kinds of things. So you can see some of the builds. This is the dressing rooms for Detroit Denim, which was involved a lot of woodworking, metalworking, and upholstery. And connecting those dots was something that was a large part of it. Large part of it. You can't just essentially submit drawings to a fabrication firm to get these things built. There's a lot of back and forth and a lot of collaboration in that, where you get feedback from who the expert that might be building a certain thing. Then you change your design. And I would say design build is a very highly collaborative environment because of that, because you have so many overlapping trades. So also recently I partnered with Urema Inc. I would say it's a high-end surfaces company, but similarly a design build company, where we work with artisans to create really unique spaces, really unique things. So he works primarily in high-end residential, but some commercial. And I'm on the team to kind of push the visualization and push it to a different point and organize the trades similarly as I do with my own company. This is, for example, a highly collaborative project that we're about to get working on, where, as you can see, we have, ceiling that is all beams. So there's woodworking, there's plaster involved. So we have to get someone to put up plaster. There's LED lighting that features, certain areas of this. There's a hand hammered fireplace that involves 3 different metal craftsmen to make. And there's a lot of back and forth involved with that, so there's a lot hey, you can't, do this. It'll have a problem when you install it. A lot of, maybe that'll cost too much to do it that way. So you should alter your design. And because of it, we're getting to a point where we have some really good relationships built to, it's really just like a phone call. Like, GVAC kind of explained, like, you guys usually have all your clients that are like, or walking around, something you've designed or something that you're working on. You can all give input. Like, a lot of those are like, held in the dusty, pre-construction environments, and we're kind of pontificating on, how things might go. But Urema has a very good reputation in surfacing, like floors primarily, but we're moving on to walls and ceilings. So in the same way that I work for myself, organizing trades will be working with him. So to kind of explain a little bit about how important design build can be and how different it is, I would say that this is like a pretty standard scenario that, like, I've worked personally as either someone who's doing fabrication or that Urema gets contracted, where you have a client, you usually have a design firm or an architect, which, they're communicating directly with the general contractor, which communicates with trades, and, you eventually have an end product out of that. That's, a pretty simple process, but we have a lot of work in New York, and we're encountering something that's more like this, which is a necessary evil for the size of projects that they are. But as you can see how far the client is from the end product, there's a lot of there's a lot of, I guess you could say it wouldn't be bad, but there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of, I guess, bureaucracy that comes with it. And it's very difficult to get these high unique environments built. And it takes a long time. One thing that you sacrifice with like an organization like this is it takes a lot of time. But as I said, there's sometimes you have to have, a lot of different entities to make something very special. But what I would like to kind of forward, and which I think is like a much more clean way, but a lot more smaller project way, is to be the design build entity. So between client and product, there's just one face, one company, kind of handling everything in one basket. And because of that, it allows you to do a lot more high unique things and provide a more collaborative environment to get these like really unique items. So one thing that I'd like to present to you is my experience with Castalia Sfumato. Isabel briefly mentioned it, but it was or it still is, praise COVID ending soon. It's a bar, so it's a little difficult to stay open at the moment. But it is a very unique environment that would not have been possible in any other scenario other than just like a design build. There's just so many different facets to it. This is its current state, where you have, this is on 2nd and Alexandrine in Midtown Detroit, but it was a Victorian building that had a previously unused basement where we dug out the basement. The owner of the building procured a liquor license, and he courted tenants, and the tenants hired me to kind of manage and design this bar fragrance store. And I'll go into a little bit more about that. But yeah, a little bit more about the building. It's a 1920s build. It had many different phases of development. There was a dental office in the basement. There was, I think that there was a church at some point in the back, but with the many phases. So it was a very interesting canvas to work with. As you can see before, it looked a lot different. There was, the ceilings were short. There was still a front lawn that didn't have any way to access the basement, so we had to organize digging it out. And on the note of collaboration, before we even had a shovel in the ground, we had, a landscape architect out. We had fabricators out to start thinking about how do we enter this space safely, to ADA requirements, and also to satisfy the Historical Commission of Detroit, because it accepts historical tax credits. So there wasn't really a straightforward way to go about it. And it's where I would say I really learned the value of having one entity along from the start to the finish of the process, because there were so many of these different factors. It was highly collaborative in the beginning because, it was a very small space. So we had to think about, where does trash go? Where does, how do customers enter and exit? How do they go to the bathroom? How can we get a kitchen? I would say that with quotes, because the kitchen is like, it's really a sink and some refrigerators, clearances, everything touches itself, or like there's no extra room. And to solve for all of these different uses, we all had to be at the table talking. And when I say we all had to be there, it was building owner, it was fabricator, it was me, it was client. We all had to think up solutions that would be appropriate. And then also at the same time, constantly be thinking about budget, constantly be thinking about timelines and feasibility. And what happened with that, though, was we had a really informed process, and we got to build some really unique things for the space. As you can see, this is some very iterative sketches in the beginning. Got really into bringing their logo and branding into the space, which was something that they're very passionate about. But I came up with some ideas, the owners came up with some ideas, and we started to narrow things down into a much more diplomatic way, where we had, to constantly quote everything to see like what we could do. And that was possible because, I was sitting at the table for all of these conversations that would absorb, all of the needs. Just to run through really quickly how it functions, it's, 640 square foot space. There's a small entry in the front. This is showing it in a retail mode. So in the day, it functions as a retail store where you can buy fragrances, and at night it converts into a bar. You can kind of see we went through a rigorous rendering and modeling process because we had to problem solve, especially for the staircase in front. But there's a lot of details in it, like these twisted finials to represent the branding when you walk in. We had, again, had to think about flow of customers. There's a lot of dual use areas of the basement that, allow for fold down tables, allow for basically retail displays that can pull out of a wall. So I just really tried to highlight the entire space to bring, as you guys, or as Sundberg was talking about, the mix of virtual reality and the real world. I really had to rely heavily on this because all of these renderings were done before we had put a shovel in the ground. We really wanted to know where everything was going to be before we started, laying plumbing, and there's a lot of factors that went into it. So we had to engineer along the way, constantly changing things. And this is just shown in the bar mode per se. So we have, seats that come out, there's tables that flip down, and people can enjoy a drink. So you can kind of see the similarities between, the two views, where it's small, subtle changes because we really had to keep everything in there, or everything in the room, inside the room. There was nowhere else for things to go in this scenario. There wasn't, you couldn't move all the chairs into the back room. Everything had to kind of be and remain in the same place. These are just some hot shots of things, but as you can see, the space turned out to be a really unique building, and it ended up being a really gathering space. But I would say, like, what was really compelling about it is this is where it started. We have, just a big muddy pit in front of the space, and we had to iterate to find a way to get a staircase to fit down there. And I would say the collaboration between everybody is what made it possible, because we constantly had challenges. Like, we hit like a water main, and then we had to move where we initially proposed to put a staircase, which is tricky because we were in this position where we really didn't have that much room to put like an elevator or something for ADA. So we had all these like other debates to worry about. But after that process was done and we went on into the final finishing, my clients are really passionate about using local makers and, creating a unique experience and unique objects within. So what ended up happening was, way early on, like, as I mentioned, there was all these trades that we were talking to kind of think about what we could put in the space. And because of it, ended up being super unique. The millwork ended up being, something that had to be built on site. And with a couple other woodworkers, we all kind of got together and built this all, but it was very collaborative. There was a lot of input from, how to achieve certain things, how to do things for the best aesthetic. And one other portion of it too that was really interesting was there's all these like other trades that I normally wouldn't have interacted with, like lead-headed glass created these different chandeliers for the oh, sorry, somebody is chatting in here. Let me do a little time check.
Yeah, can you, Paul, just in the interest of time, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you just sort of wrap up with sharing about how many different collaborators you think you had on that project?
Yeah. So I would say we had Donut Shop Design build out some planners for us. We had Deep End Studio do some of the metalwork for us. We had Line Studio Detroit do some countertops for us. We had Born Building Code do some of the millwork for us. We worked with a landscape architect who works for the city right now, Jeff Klein. We had, a plethora of masons, a plethora of mechanical engineers come through the space. But I would say, the list goes on and on. But what made it so special was that we all had conversations along the way, and we all met at the same table and discussed, what our outcomes were, and collaboration really brought it together.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, it really is a great space, and I'm like watching all of the comments coming in about everyone who wants to check it out. We should definitely have a network happy hour there. It's outside, right? So we can technically
They are, yeah. They are still
no
opening outside.
Yeah. No, it really, no, Paul, I think definitely that's the thing, you know, as someone who's experienced your spaces and your work, like just all of the different stories that come together, that it really shows through in the way that you experience the space. It really, it's nice. That's very nice. So thank you. Thank you so much for putting that
You
together.
guys.
So, last but definitely not least, I would like to introduce, if I can like organize my papers, I would like to introduce some new cool kids in town called Bread and Butter. Actually, they're not so new in town. Chrissy Feehan and Michael Lozano. I can't, there we go. Our husband and wife team, they're both design professionals who have independent design careers. Well, independent from each other, I should say. And they recently started a project together that inspired them to make it a little bit more official, and it became this great new firm, Bread and Butter Design. So Chrissy Feehan, her life mission is to cultivate holistic products and environments that embody form and function through a strategic and empathetic approach in design. She's one of the directors, one of the design directors at Pop House, where she leads a team that brings a diverse perspective to problem solving and innovation in spaces. And one of the things that I think is really great is they have a very much a data and research-based approach. So this is something that Chrissy manages during her day, and she really, in doing so, fosters lasting relationships with both with clients and with the local craftsmen that she brings in to different projects. She also is a graduate of CCS. She also she's designed furniture for CB2.
You're gonna move on to Michael now, you know. So much.
I know, I'm almost done. The best part is she's also a shoe designer, and Ariana Grande has worn some of her shoes. And her husband and design partner now, Michael Lozano, also is a graduate of CCS. He currently works for, oh my God, sorry, I'm like losing my spot. He currently works for Denso, he is the chief creative in the creative design department. And he also is an adjunct faculty member at CCS in product design. He's had a lot of experience working on different projects in Chicago, including Lunar. So with that, I will let you two take it from here.
So I'm going to share screen. Isabel, let me know if you can see it.
Yeah.
So a little bit different from other presenters today. We're going to be covering kind of our collaboration together as husband and wife, and then some of the work that we're pulling in local craftsmen on as well. So I don't know if you want to give a little bit of background on Bread and Butter.
So Bread and Butter basically was it was a way for us to showcase our collaboration with each other, but also with local craftsmen who we've created relationships with for the past few years.
Oh, how do I move this now?
Okay.
Oh, we'll let you do that. Keep going. So we'll start off with one of the first projects that we've been working on. It's an Adirondack chair. This was our first time collaborating together. It was something that we've always talked about. We're building a new home together, and we really wanted to provide products for our home that we've designed, and we're supporting local craftsmen in the process. So we started, searching the market for Adirondack chairs for our outdoor space. We were coming up short with finding something that was in our aesthetic. And we quickly came to the assumption that we could design something for a similar price point ourselves.
Right. Yeah, so she led this one for the most part, and then what I really did was come in and do a little bit more of like technical and details for it. So that's kind of what I'm mostly into when it comes to design. I really hone in on the little details a lot.
Yeah, so we worked with Virtuoso Design Build. And we're actually sitting in them right now, which we're really excited. We got them today.
Just got them today.
But
Comfortable?
pardon?
Yeah,
Comfortable?
Yeah, I think we did one sit test. We wanted to bring them here. I think we need to do a little bit more tweaking, but first prototype, pretty excited about it. So yeah, we've been collaborating with Virtuoso Design Build, which is a local design and build company in Detroit. They do a lot of spaces, custom furniture, things like that. And it was, Mike and I have both actually worked with them. I worked with them through our work at Pop House, and Mike's worked with them on his space.
Yeah, so I designed our studio at Denso, which is pretty cool looking. We used actually a lot of white oak, which is the same material for these, and we had them do a whole wall for us.
Mm-hmm. So it was interesting learning how to collaborate with each other. And, you know, we're really proud of these chairs. We've done things down to the details where, you know, when you're getting into the chair, there's no squared off edges. So there's like a round smooth. If you were to like sit on something, the handrests are really wide. So you can set your drink down, you can put your laptop, since we're all working from home, and really worked through, you know, the details with these with Mike and Mark. And he's been helping us a lot too with, you know, if we take these to market, how we'll build them.
Yeah, how to flat pack them. So if we do get kind of traction on them and people want to possibly purchase them in the future, we would figure out how to flat pack them for shipping out to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is our second project. This is the dog pedestals. This actually started a while back. We were looking for a pedestal for our dog, who you might have seen jumping around a little bit.
Sorry.
The issue is there aren't a lot of good dog pedestals out in the market. There were some like nice white ceramic ones that we saw once, but they didn't really have any extra added value that we were looking for. In this case, what we wanted to do was design something that had form and function. So you can see here, one of the interesting things here is you can actually bring up the bowl and you have all your extra food there. So we don't have to run back to our pantry to go grab extra food. We can have a little extra sitting in there. But this is actually a terrazzo looking pedestal at the base, and then a stainless steel stamped bowl, which are made here in the US as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are partnering with Line Studios for this one.
So these are still early on in the fabrication process. Michael was there this week taking photography. They're starting to pull it. I worked with Line Studios, and I know, Paul, you actually worked with Line Studios on the bar you showed earlier. They're a great local company, amazing to collaborate with. So we wanted the pedestals to be heavy enough if a dog's playing in a space that, you know, if you throw a ball, like they're not going to run over and tip these over. So my first thought was like, let's do cement and let's do Line Studios. So we selected our aggregate, which is like the stone that you see. And we've been working through the process with him, and, you know, the work that they do is just so detailed. We've got multiple samples from them on how much aggregate do you want to show, and what are the colors that you want exposed, and what are the details. So they've been really excited too, because they're testing out a new like 3D printing process. Right. So they printed our molds.
Yeah, so the 3D printer really allowed us to get we wanted our logo in the base of it. I don't think we have an image of that on here, but so we are going to have our branding on the bottom of it. So it was kind of fun that like he had an opportunity. He just got this like new toy in the studio, and he had the opportunity with us to kind of test it out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they've been fantastic to work with. You know, if you're ever looking for anything concrete or anything with aggregate like this placed in it, they're great to work with. I
think one thing that we've noticed is a struggle, or has been a struggle with our current situation, is really being able to benchmark products. Obviously, we're a small like husband and wife. We've got our jobs during the day. you know, we're not like at Michael's work where they're, you know, purchasing, you know, everything they need to like benchmark. So, and it's COVID, so we can't run to the store as easily and go and test a bunch of chairs or go and see what's on the market. So I think that's one thing we've noticed during COVID that's been a bit of a struggle. We were like just benchmarking off of, we were up north at my parents' cottage, and there's a bunch of Adirondack chairs at like all of our cottage and our neighbor's cottage, and like running around and being like, what do we like about them? What don't we like about them? Because that's life right now. And we're trying to be safe. So that's one thing that we've had to learn. I think us collaborating together has been interesting, and I think it's brought us closer together, but it's been something that we've been excited about in the evenings because, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, what do we do at night? So it was something that gave us some excitement to work together on something into the evening. What am I going to do?
I think, you know, we had talked about doing this collaboration for at least like a year or two. Definitely the pandemic kind of like pushed us to really like go after it, because at the beginning, you know, we were both kind of a little down and depressed, and I feel like this, like pursuing this in the evenings actually gave us a little bit of happiness.
That's so great. I'm going to jump in now, and before we start asking general questions to all the panelists, I would like to start by asking Michael and Chrissy specifically how your approaches to design differ, and do these differences now in your collaboration, do they affect your home life?
I'll let you
Well,
start.
you know, it's always happy wife, happy life, right? So it's the same
Not
in the
true.
collaboration. Yeah, if you want to start with kind of your approach.
Yeah, I mean, I am really big picture crazy. Budget's not, you know, not really a thing. And so I think I continue to push us to like keep, you know, pushing our boundaries. We don't have a client. We're each other's client, which is so different from our day-to-day jobs, right? So
I personally would never want myself as a client ever.
I'm the worst client.
And then I kind of keep things a little bit more realistic and in order. And,
Yeah.
kind of add, you know, detail to certain things. But yeah, she definitely pushes us to think a little bit further out.
Which isn't different.
Yeah.
Mike deals with the bills and I deal with the, you know, big picture things. So
Yeah.
It doesn't change much from our day to day.
No, not too different.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think I'm starting to see it. I'm sorry, I'm like sitting so far from my computer, I can barely read these questions. So I'm gonna have to like lean in. But I see one of the questions, and this is definitely something that I was about to tie in. But what is the role of the design network in all of this? And that is such a great question. And I think that that speaks to the purpose, you know, of pulling this event together. And I like to, you know, thank Leslie Pilling and Gary Spondek for collaborating with me in pulling this chat session together. But, you know, I think we really wanted to show just, you know, give a spotlight to different people doing different things and working together, you know, and working together in different ways, and just seeing who else is part of the network. And hopefully this, you know, this evening, you know, chat session will grow over the years, and we can turn this like into a symposium and really show, really spotlight, you know, the important things. I mean, I was like, we need to have an event that's spotlighting all of the amazing things that design network members are doing, because we're such a great group of really smart people doing cool things. So why isn't there an event, you know, focused on that? So I think that really is the purpose, you know, to sort of spotlight a few people, and then hopefully we can grow from there. Let's see, I'm trying to look to see what else. So so Chrissy and Michael, you are intending to take these products for bread and butter, and you're intending to take them, like they are technically to market, right? You want to put them out there and make them available
Yes.
to everyone, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want to go about the process really kind of thoughtfully. So we want to make sure, that the products are 100% what we want them to be before we do that. But yeah, they will be for purchase on our website. And I think we're going to start just locally and keep it small and see how it goes from there. But they will most likely be made to order as well.
Mhm.
So as if you were to buy anything from a Herman Miller or anything like that, where there's usually a 4 to 6 week lead time, it'll be similar to that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
neat.
especially for like the dog pedestals because they come in different sizes depending on your dog. So we want to make sure they're
Yeah.
made specifically for
Your
the
dog.
size of your dog.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So jumping back to GVAC and David, I had a question as I was watching and I'm trying to absorb this full amazing process that you have. You have a team of 20 different designers working with you, right? And
Yep.
on any given project, are all of those designers involved, or how many different designers, on a given project are collaborating, with you?
Dave, you want to take that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because, yeah, I mean, we have a diverse team, right? So we have design researchers and strategists and product designers and transportation, prototyping. So we get a little bit of everything. And I think collaboration happens at various levels, everywhere from the beginning of just trying to provide input and trying to put a proposal together. But there's times we can bring everyone together, right? So whether it's just kind of a classic traditional brainstorming, sometimes great numbers aren't always as helpful. Sometimes a nice small team of 3 or 4 is very effective.
Too many cooks in the kitchen is never good, right?
I'm sorry?
But too many cooks in the kitchen is not a good thing sometimes.
You're absolutely right. So sometimes you just got to have the right blend, and for our projects, people are more passionate about certain things than others. You got to be able to get excited about doing a garbage disposal, as well as a new supercar. And so I mean we have that type of variety, but being very open studio, which I honestly miss. I'm in the studio every day. But most of our staff is still at home. And I tell you what, I miss just being able to get up and like look and see someone doing something like, what's going on over here? What are you looking at? What are you taking apart? So, I think we have to schedule everything now, right? In order to have that same type of getting multiple people on that project, having eyes on it. It doesn't happen as spontaneously as it did. And I can't wait to get back to that. And as a matter of fact, I still have to force people like Josiah to come in and have whiteboard sessions with me so we can kind of just think about things and work it out on the whiteboard because, nothing's, it's all loose and ideas just flow out. And so that's still a very important part of our process. But yeah, just to conclude this, I mean, we can have a couple people in the project, but having eyes on it throughout the duration of a project happens all the time. So there's no typical 2 versus 10, but it's always good to have multiple eyes on it, throughout certain parts of the project.
Yeah.
And just to add a little bit to that is apart from our core team, and we can do plenty of things together, but sometimes there might be a need of some specialists to join in. And we have a very decent network of specialists. Let's say we want to reach out to a roboticist. We will not have him on staff. It will not be affordable. But then we reach out to our strategic partners to bring that kind of an expertise for those couple of months over there. If you want to reach out to an aerodynamicist, we can get their kind of things on the team. So that is our core team. And then we have tentacles out in the market where we can go precisely for this material or for this kind of a newer AR or augmented technology as such. So that's the real span of spreading your collaboration team as such.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's amazing when you have that team. Like you two are so lucky, and any of you that any size team, you're so lucky to have that. and the ability to schedule things, even if you do have to push people sometimes. I personally work by myself, so my brainstorming sessions make me look like a lunatic because I'm like talking to myself basically. But no, on that note, though, I think that is the benefit, though, for someone like me and someone like all of you that have teams, is that the design network can be your team, and as an individual member, you can leverage, the knowledge of like the collaborators within our community. And I think Paul can speak very well to that, especially not to disqualify the rest of you, but I know that Paul really takes advantage of that, and so I have, if you have anything to say, and to that, Paul, please do chime in. But I would just like to ask you, you have such a, if, even just in looking through your slides, I know you specifically spotlighted Sfumato, but, you did feature some of the other projects a little bit. It's such an aesthetically diverse group. And I think that's one of the things that really amazes me about your work, is that it's so, you have your own, personal style as a designer, but it's so, your projects are so diverse. How much of that is your clients, and how much collaboration is with your client's vision versus you? And then you can talk about the design network however you want.
Right.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I would say it's 50-50. Sometimes just either there's a beauty in budget constraints and what that makes you do and how that makes you think. And I would say sometimes aesthetic from that in some cases is beautifying something that is simpler or more utilitarian to meet a client's needs, especially in retail design build. There's not a ton of money there. So that sometimes leads to it. Some of it is personal. I would say I'm still pretty early in my career, and I feel like there's been a lot of software learning that has allowed me to push. And I would say computer aided drawing and laser cutting, CNCing, that has opened up doors to what I can offer that I had never expected. So I feel like some of it is the diversity is I feel like I'm kind of in a playground of what to do. But I would say to the point of collaboration is and to tie in why design work is, or the design network is important, is it's a platform where I get to meet people from all over the place in design, but in Detroit, meaning they're I would say design is kind of siloed. You work in a company, and a lot of times you work within that company and you don't get to, without some sort of network, get to branch out of it. I mean, you have school, you go to your institution, you go to school and you have that. But as time goes on, it's hard to, and I would say COVID has made this, a unique design network circumstance. But the people that you meet at design network events are from companies that you just you won't interact with them in any other way. And I would say that ties into my own personal work, because you meet and you see other people grow, especially in Detroit, I would say adjacent industries. There's a lot of other design build firms, I would say Donut Shop, Deep End Studio, Line Studio does design build in a similar way. But you watch their growth. I would say Design Network, I probably started going to events maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something. So it's been a while, but in that time, I've been able to see so many people grow, and it makes me realize the possibilities of what could be done and offered.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me and all of us. And I really enjoyed hearing your stories of collaboration. And I look forward to actually connecting with you all in person soon. I just would like to remind everyone that the Design Network, is always open for membership applications. And if you are interested, you can go to the Design Core website to find out more. Sydney Camp would be your membership contact, and I believe if she hasn't already, she's popping in her direct contact in the chat. So if you do have any more specific questions that I'm probably not qualified to answer, you can definitely ask her. So please do that. And thank you so much for joining us. I guess I'm the one wrapping this up. So I hope you all have a great evening, and see you soon.
It's all on you.
Thank you, Isabel.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.